We begin our tour of the most lavish million-dollar rooms with a stop in Bridgehampton, New York, where one family takes entertainment to an entirely new level.
I build houses in the Hamptons, and 99.9% of the people that build these houses, it's so their kids come back.
When we were building the house, we were doing the upstairs more traditional, and when we started designing the basement, it was traditional as well. And all of a sudden, Joe and I went to the movies one night and we saw Iron Man. And when we left the movie theater, Joe said, "Oh my God, that's the inspiration for the basement."
The Farrells decided to turn their basement into a one-of-a-kind entertainment center, complete with 5 different recreation areas.
I wanted upstairs to feel like a home, but I wanted this to feel like an amusement park or a lounge, or a disco down here, because it's really just fun time. This room was created for Sundays. We have big parties here, as you can see. There's 5 big TVs. We have 20, 30, 40 people here. We'll have a barber cutting hair. We have masseuses giving massages in the spa. We have manicurists and pedicurists. And we usually have food from 7 or 8 nations.
We went with modern-looking furniture, and we got to the piano, which was originally a burgundy color.
So I had to find someone who could paint a piano. So someone said, "Why don't you try a body shop?"
So we took it to an auto body shop where they spray painted it metallic silver for us.
And this poker table was a housewarming present from a dear friend. And the adults come down here very often, and we have some pretty serious poker games. I almost lost a house last summer, but we doubled down and got it back, so it was cool. And this is the bowling alley. So when people see a bowling alley in our house, they tend to think that we bowl all the time. Well, I've bowled about a dozen times in my life, but something about having a bowling alley in your basement I thought was really cool.
I have to tell you, that's the first one I've ever gotten.
And the theme was like South Beach Lounge. Fun, chic. In the summertime here in the Hamptons, if it rains, our phone just starts ringing like mad. All our friends from the city, they mob us. They just invite themselves, which is great with us.
The clouds roll in, 20 minutes later we have a party.
So
it's great.
I mean, even rainy days are great in the Hamptons, here at the Sandcastle. So the most interesting thing about this whole house, let alone the room, is that usually people start with an elevation of the front of a house, and then they'll create a floor plan. My architect and I sat down and I said, okay, here's how we start. I want a bowling alley, and I want a squash court, okay? So it started in the basement, which is like unheard of in the 150 houses that I've built. So we needed this really long house and like an L shape. So we started with this enormous footprint, and that's how the house got so gigantic. So this entire house was designed around this room, which I think is pretty funny. If you come down here, this is very funny, probably the funniest thing in the whole house. I walk out of my driveway on a Saturday morning and there's a truck backing up, and the door opens, and there's Michael, who I sold a house to him, and he's wheeling this out. I go, what are you doing? That's an ATM. He said, this is your gift. He has an ATM company. And he said, when you're playing cards or you're bowling and your friends lose to you, nobody leaves without paying. You say, hit the ATM, buddy, and pay up. So this is a great room, and we use this all the time early in the morning. And also, we have a lot of dodgeball games down here. So that's why it was nice to make it racquetball sized, because racquetball's 12 feet bigger. So it's also a mini gymnasium. If you look up at the basket, I gotta press a button over here. 14 months into construction, we still didn't know how we were gonna have a basketball court here. We were gonna have the basketball court come out of the ceiling, and we had a guy from the Midwest who was designing like airplane doors that were gonna open. And one of my managers was online, and the guy had just patented this. It was the first one ever installed. We were gonna spend about $80,000 on engineering for the airplane doors to come out of the ceiling. And we find this online, which blows that away for $4,000. I would never own a home again without a squash or racquetball court. Welcome to the Air Lounge. This is the funnest and the most expensive room in the entire house. This room was purely built for children, although there is a little adult fun here too. These are just some fun seats that we put in for the kids. Whoa. You know? Sometimes I put my wife up there and just leave her up there. You know? These seats are for viewing kids on the half pipe. My son Joey is like a crazy skateboard dude. And if you look up here on the wall, since we're in the basement, there's no windows. So that is a virtual window. That is a live camera feed of outside of our backyard. We found some fantastic graffiti artists from the Bronx, and they came in and spent a week here every day painting this stuff. And then up here, you have a DJ booth, which would rival any system in the greatest clubs in Manhattan. And then over here, you have the rock climbing wall. When people come over, you know, it's pretty funny to watch their reactions. They look at it and they're like, oh my God. But the funniest reaction I had was from my really good friend. He walked in and he said, Joseph, this is not normal behavior, as he walked around my house. This is not normal behavior.
The end result came out so far beyond our original expectations.
This bowling alley, this room, probably cost $350,000 to build and construct. The racquetball court was probably $150,000. The air lounge, when you add up the virtual golf, was $60,000. The whole DJ booth and all the equipment, the light shows, the fog machines was probably $70,000 with the karaoke. The half pipe probably cost $20,000 to build. So everything's at least $100,000, so it's amazing. Now you're frightening me because I'm adding it up. If there's anything I have to add or change, since I'm not such a great bowler, one of my friends gave me a great idea to have a little button in the floor that I just hit and it knocks all the pins down and nobody knows it. A strike button. But that's it.
The gym is about $1.25 million.
And we actually do massages right here. It's a floating bed in the middle of our pool.
How great is this? I mean, you've got this pool right here, basically in your living room.